So, how well has it held up? What problems have I had? Maybe nitpicks, complaints, or maybe praise do I have for this particular bike? I bought my Vitpilen just over a year ago, and now I've got 11,000 miles on it. Fair chance you guys end up hearing my chickens in the background, and there they are. So, why did I get this bike? What was the purpose behind it? Was it just a looks thing, or what was I thinking? First of all, the main reason I got this bike to begin with was because of gas prices. I was looking at bikes. I knew gas prices were going to go up. So at the time, bikes were starting to get really hard for me to find in my area. I live in southeast Indiana. I wanted something smaller displacement because I wanted to maximize fuel economy. And then when you started looking at the prices, well, it was maybe only $1,000 difference between buying an old bike or this new one. So here's the type of riding that I do. They call this the Urban Explorer, I believe. I live in a very remote rural location, and I commute to work with this bike. This is why I have 11,000 miles on it in only 12 months. So I ride if it's at least 40 degrees out or above. I'm in colder weather, but preferable to not get anything icy, I do all my own maintenance. I don't trust anybody else touching my machines. There's too many horror stories from everybody I know, whether it's your car, your truck, your bike, whatever it is. Seems like you just can't trust people. Plus, good service costs a lot of money. Good work ain't cheap, and cheap work ain't good. So, the Metzler factory tires, because I bought this factory new, the rear one only lasted like 3,500 miles, so that was it. Then the chain stretched all the time. That factory chain did. I think I only got like 7,000 miles out of that. I am on my second front tire. I put a Pirelli Angel on the front. I really like that tire. I'm on my third rear tire. My second tire was a Pirelli Angel. It's a touring tire. And then this is a Dunlop something. It's a Roadmaster 3, that's what it is. It's a touring tire, and I'm going to see how many miles I can get out of it, because not a whole lot. I didn't realize how few miles you really get out of these tires. Maybe it's just Indiana's roads. We have really bad roads out here. They're really rough, and sometimes they do what they call chip and seal. It's just basically they dump pea gravel down and glue it to the road. It's like jagged pea gravel. Then they spray paint it black, essentially. So you're riding on like 2-grit sandpaper. So I can't really speak to the longevity of maybe the tire life that you guys will get in your areas. So problems. What problems have I had? I have not had any problems. 0 problems have I had. Just your typical maintenance stuff. Doing my oil changes. I had to put a new chain on it, and then of course tires. I haven't had to do anything with the brake pads because I don't really hit the brakes a whole lot, because my commute to work and back is, it's like 50 miles one way, and I'm just cruising. I'm not in stop and go traffic, so it's very rare that I actually hit a stop sign or a stoplight, so I'm not really wearing my brakes out all that much. For me, this bike has been a solid bike. Very solid bike. It kind of reminds me of my Kawasaki Ninja 250s I used to have back in the day. I've been riding since '08, but this feels so much like one of those bikes, except it handles way better in the corners. That bike didn't have fully adjustable suspension. When you put the suspension on this into sport mode, you can corner like crazy. It's so awesome. A close friend of mine has the 701, and I have no problems keeping up with him in the corners at all. So, is it a fun bike? Maybe if you're used to a really big bike, you're gonna not appreciate this bike for very long because it is only 400, you know, but honestly, I bought this bike for a very specific purpose, and that was to save me money, a lot of money. With my commute versus the SUV I drove, I mean, I was saving a couple $100 a month in gas really quick, and it is a very fun bike to ride. Although I will say, if you're going to keep this bike long term, I would highly recommend that you look at the Coober ECU power upgrade kit and buy it directly from Coober. The AMOC website, those people were terrible. I had terrible customer service. The first one I got didn't work, and I had to get with them. It didn't work at all. The bike wouldn't even stop or anything. But I had a fantastic customer experience with Coober themselves. They sent me out a new ECU, and like I said, if you're going to keep the bike long term, you're going to want to drop the $1,000. I know it's a lot, but man, I would not have been able to stick with this bike, I don't think, if I hadn't got that. It made this like a brand new machine, a whole different piece of equipment. And then get the DNA air filter, the open air box filter, but you can only do that if you get the Coober ECU. If you do that without the ECU, you could actually damage your vehicle. So keep that in mind. But the power kit comes with like their version of an open air box cover, but like I said, the DNA one's better. And then a cat delete pipe, and then the ECU. And it's plug and play. It's 100% plug and play. I mean, it took me less than a half an hour to install it personally myself. This bike felt like it had tremendously more power than what it did originally. So I would, there's my dog. There's what I would recommend if you're going to keep it long term. If you're just like a brand new beginner, this obviously is in the beginner realm of bikes. It's fantastic. It's not overpowered. You don't have to have perfect throttle control, anything crazy. But if you're going to keep it long term, like I intend to keep this for several more years, it's a beautiful bike. When you get to looking at all the bikes that are available online, you know, in the world, these 401s and 701s, the Vitpilens and the Vitpilens, there's just nothing like them. There's nothing that looks like these bikes, and it really attracted me to these bikes, which is probably why you're checking out this video right now. So you may notice my bike's kind of dirty. I ride a lot, as you can tell by the mileage, but I get caught in the rain a fair bit. And yesterday I was out riding, and then a thunderstorm came out of nowhere, so I got caught in the rain again. I ride it in all weather, except if it's below freezing, of course. You know, just like I said before, I keep out of the ice and stuff. I'm sure you guys noticed right away, that's not the original seat cover, and those aren't the original mirrors. Typically, now I was super attracted to this bike because of the looks, but I'm more of a function over form kind of guy, and that's honestly why I changed the mirrors. I do, let's see, 8 miles of my commute to work is on the highway, so I have to deal with lane changes, and I like to know exactly where all the vehicles are around me, and the stock mirrors vibrated so badly, they sucked, and I had to move to see them. These were like less than $50 for the pair, and then I bought, I forget what website I bought these on, but they're 1.1/8" convex mirrors. And I actually 3D printed a little piece to go behind it to give me the exact angle I need, because this gives me 0 blind spots. At this point, I can see if there's any vehicles right beside me or behind me or anywhere, and I don't have to move my body around and change my riding position just to use my mirrors. So they look cool, but they are way more practical. I get way more visibility, and I feel super safe when I'm riding with these, with this particular setup. Cell phone holder, gotta have that. Sometimes you just want to get lost on purpose, you know, you just gonna ride in a direction and see what happens, so you need GPS to get back. This was a cheap $20 cell phone holder I bought, and it's never moved. It's never fallen off. It has a little lock on the back, so you can lock your phone whenever you expand it. It just locks down to that exact position. I have nothing bad to say about it. It's been a perfect little cell phone holder for me. It's never gotten loose, it's never fallen off or anything, and if you have this bike, you'll realize there's no place to put a cell phone. with the clip-ons, it's pretty freaking cramped. So, but this has been a great option for me because it's kind of like a C-clamp deal. Louis Moto. Now that's who makes these custom seat covers for different bikes. And I would never have bought one because I'm more of a form over function guy, but a close friend of mine, the guy who's got the 701, he tricked me because he had bought some for his 701 and he was asking me what I thought of them. And I'm like, ooh, I like that dark brown with the, with the black and stuff. And so Christmas came and then I came into work and this was on my desk. So it looks beautiful. I really love this seat cover. I mean, it really brings out the bike. I mean, it just really looks great. I've had a lot of compliments on it, and people ask me where I got it from. But Louis Moto, they're the ones who have it. This like suede material helps you grip your butt on it really good. So I really like that as well, especially when I'm doing stuff that's too mischievous, like popping wheelies and things, crap like that, shouldn't do if you're in a crowded area. But yeah, it helps me stay seated on there, and I can't say enough good things about it. That has held up perfectly, and I've had that since last December, so let's see, almost 9 months-ish. Should you get one? That's the question, right? I would say if you love the look of this bike, there's no reason to not get one. I haven't had any issues with it being bad performance or breaking down on me, or I haven't had a single issue out of this bike. The thing that does annoy me is just how high maintenance bikes are. I mean, they're way high maintenance, man. If you're putting a lot of miles on them, you're having to change your tires pretty frequently and checking. Oh, the chain. That reminds me, the chain. I went with the RK racing chain to replace this with, and that has been a very low maintenance chain for me. I have not had to adjust that once, and I've put 2,000 miles on it. So when you do replace your chain, get an RK chain. I love those chains. I put those on my dirt bikes and stuff too. I can't say enough good things about those chains. If you're shopping for one, I'm sure you've already found they're kind of hard to get a hold of. I actually drove to Illinois to get mine, so it took me like 13 and a half hours round trip to go get the bike and come back with it. But it's super well worth it. I mean, there's people that come up to me and say, man, I don't even ride a bike, but I would ride that. That makes me want to ride because it's such a really unique looking machine. I mean, it really looks beautiful. If you guys don't know, which I would say you probably already do, KTM bought the motorcycle line of Husqvarna. So you're not really necessarily buying a Husqvarna product. You're buying a KTM product, and everybody knows KTM's a solid company to get your stuff. I forgot, but I did change the clutch and brake levers out to these really nice ones that are laser etched like that. And I love the adjustable. Of course, the stock ones for me were adjustable too, where it had the dial and you could dial it. And these are also like telescopic too. You could like make them longer or shorter or whatever. I thought that was a nice touch, and those were like 35 bucks. That was the first thing I ever ordered from AliExpress, and the only reason I changed those out was so I could do my clutch ups and get that front end up off the ground and be mischievous. That's the only reason I changed them, and it was hard to find. I mean, when you look up parts for these, it's a little tough, actually, because they're not, there's not a ton of these bikes around, so it's actually a little bit tougher to look up parts, but they're definitely super available. You can get the parts and stuff for these, so don't get scared away from maybe buying one if you think, oh man, it might be hard to get the parts. It's just, I didn't want to pay Husqvarna's price for things. I mean, I think just one mirror from Husqvarna is like 80 bucks for one. That's just for one. I mean, and that's the first thing that would get broken probably if you lay your bike over. Speaking of laying your bike over, knock on wood, I've never laid my bike down. I've never even come close. I'm a pretty cautious rider. That sounds weird because I do get the front end off the ground a little bit, but when you're a very competent and very capable rider, and hopefully you guys take the MSF course, it's a great course. I would definitely recommend that course. You learn to ride within your limits. Ride within your personal limits. Don't worry about you know, keeping up with your buddies or trying to impress people or trying to do something that you're not capable of yet. Work your way into things slowly, and you're way less likely to have an issue or a mishap or anything. This video is about the bike, not about your riding skills. Sorry, I'll get off my box there. But overall, I really love this bike, and I'm super glad I put the Kuber ECU in it. That has made me super happy with this bike, and I love it. And I hope you guys check it out. Go find one, maybe test ride one or something. I really enjoy this bike, and I hope you do too.